All right, what's up, gang? All right. We'll just get started in a couple minutes. How many people are already mining? Who's watching right now? All right. All right, we're on. All right, so I'm basically using the tutorial from the safex.org/blog just to get on the internet here. All right, just want to get a drink real quick. Yeah, I need to pull up because I don't see the chat from here. So let me just bring everybody up to speed and we'll get started very shortly. Cool. All right. So there's one small adjustment that I made to like actually I had ordered the Ryzen 9 that's in the tutorial, but it showed up late, meaning it'll be here on Monday. But I did get the RAM. I got the motherboard. I have a comparable um, power supply, and then one variant is so the 3900X from the tutorial is kind of like a little bit outdated, and it's not outdated, like it'll still mine quite substantially, but the newest version of the processors that'll work is this Ryzen 7 5800X. So they cost literally the same amount, and they cost literally the same amount, and they mine about the same. This one's a little bit stronger. The only difference is that the 3900X comes with a cooler, so I had to actually get a cooler, a CPU cooler for it. So we have that. Cool. So so I'm gonna update that tutorial after this clip, so that if anybody was was following along, you'll be able to see you'll be able to see this and this cooler. So it doesn't really change the cost of the build, but it's a more modern processor. So let's dive in. We're gonna start with unwrapping the motherboard. So so a bunch of things that we don't need. We're gonna go with like a super raw build. Like I'm not gonna spend time making a case or anything, and we're gonna go ahead with the with SFXOS at the end of this. All right, so this is the motherboard. So basically, we'll just start by unwrapping that. So just kind of like a lowdown. This is where the RAM goes. This is where the CPU goes. And we won't be using any other parts. It's just going to be straightforward. We're using the RAM slots and the CPU slot. So, the next thing that we should do is get the CPU in. So, I got a pair of keys, and I'm gonna slice this. Probably the trickiest part of the entire build process is getting the cooler mounted onto the CPU. So we got the CPU right here. This is the Ryzen 7 5800X. So it's brand new. It's got the same amount of power as the Ryzen 9 3900X. It's just a newer CPU, and it still fits in the same slot as the Ryzen 9. So basically, you lift up this little lever here. I hope you all can see it. There's like a little lever that you lift, and this is where the CPU will go. So, like, we'll take this CPU and pop it in there. And usually it's like where the letters are, like that. And you can see how the letters are like here. It says socket AM4, and then it says Ryzen, so they should all be facing the same way. And then you close that lever. And now the next step is to mount the cooler. So the CPU fan. Hey, are you guys able to see me? Yeah, all right. Someone said we can't see you. Don't know why. Anyways, cool. So we continue. So once you got the CPU in, so this cooler is pretty advanced, which I think is a good thing. The Ryzen 9, the 3900X, is a super good cooler too, but when it comes to its stock. But this one will require a little bit of mounting, so it's kind of cool that I could show you in a video. So we are on the AMD path, and then there are these. So we're doing AM4, and it's pretty simple. It's very straightforward. These mounting brackets, which on the Ryzen, the 3900X, you don't need to remove these, but because we're using a different CPU that doesn't come with the it doesn't come with the cooler, then we need our own cooler, and this is like another $60, which is not a big deal considering the amount of good cooling you're going to get from this. But basically, we're going to need to replace those mounting brackets, and it's not that much more involved. So let's unwrap the cooler, and I'll update the tutorial to incorporate this new cooler when we're done. But you'll see just how kind of quickly, probably in like 20 minutes flat, we'll have a miner up and running. So it's going to tell you, so all the tools you're going to need for this mounting are all here. There's like a Phillips screwdriver. I'm just going to get started with removing these mounting brackets. So, I mean, I have 80 Ryzen 9s in the ground right now. So you could imagine just how quickly, how much, I mean, it was time consuming, but, I didn't spend forever doing it. So, yeah. So there's these little risers, and we want these, we want to use the gray risers, not the white ones. And it comes with these 4 screws. And then there are these mounting brackets. They literally say AMB11 on them. So there are these 2 mounting brackets, and for the AM4, which is what we're doing, that's the most powerful, there's a 4 etched onto the inside, and that's the part that we want to combine with. So do note that there is this little mounting bracket that came with the motherboard, and if you should leave that mounting bracket. So I'm gonna kind of like realign that mounting bracket, take the gray risers and put them over, and then so this is what we're gonna use to attach the CPU cooler to. So these will kind of hold it in place, and yeah, we're good. So there's 4 screws. Remember to keep it in the number 4 position. So yeah, if you're starting up a mining rig today, this is kind of like fortuitous because you could literally go to Best Buy and get one of these Ryzen 7s. I mean, this is a Ryzen 7 5800X, so it's a super modern CPU. And when we get it up and running, we're going to see that it is producing just as much hash power as the 3900X. So still, the whole purpose is 1 CPU, 1 vote, right? So that's how they wanted to do Bitcoin, and it makes sense because you want the whole world to be able to get their hands on the currency, in a new super fashionable way, like mining, right? Whereas today they say, oh yeah, mining used to be the way to do it for Bitcoin, so you may as well just go and buy it, but that doesn't make any sense. Like, we're doing crypto for a reason. Why would we just go and buy it? Like, let's be involved in an ecosystem that is all encompassing, right? So here we are. All right. So then there's one more part. You need to put some thermal paste. So I've seen people go, get out of hand with thermal paste. So you can't just put this directly on the CPU, because then it won't be connected and it won't absorb the heat, right? Because this gets pretty hot when it's used at 100% collecting coins. So it comes with this syringe, and that's your thermal paste. So if you see how I'm going to do this, you don't really need a lot of thermal paste. I usually just put like a dot in the center and in the corners, just a little dab. I've seen people just take a spatula and just smear it all over, and then it's a total mess, and it's completely unnecessary. You could see just how a tiny bit was needed to actually get that connection that you wanted. So now I'm going to take the cooler, and remember, this is like the hardest part. I mean, at least in my opinion, it's the most time-consuming. So we have the cooler. Usually, if you put this in a box, you could see the direction that the fan will be going. So the fan is pushing through this way. There's actually a little arrow. I don't know if the resolution will pick it up, but there's literally a underneath here. There's a little arrow that shows. I don't know if we can. Maybe you can't see, but basically the air is going through this way. So if you have a case, the air will go through this way. So we want to mount it so that the air is evacuating the box. So also, yeah, we need to remove the fan. So the fan has these little hooks, these little clips, and then there are these two screws on either side. We just grab our Phillips screwdriver and just screw it on. It's literally that simple. Like, there's no fancy way to screw it on. It's like, putting a shelf together or whatever. And then on the other side, so you can see. Don't be afraid to kind of press down, because that's what it's going to take. I'm giving this, fair amount of force. I'm not trying to crush it, but I'm, doing what it takes to get it to meet. And it wants a firm seal. The contact is what does the heat absorption. So you gotta seal it up the best it can. I mean, not to overdo it. As soon as you feel resistance, leave it and you're good to go. So then we want to reattach the fan. Put these hooks. These little clips. And then you have this to connect the fan to the motherboard. So I'm looking for, right here, it says CPU fan. So it literally says on the motherboard. I hope you could see this, but it literally says, see here, it says CPU fan. So it literally slides in. So there's CPU fan 1. So this board can do 2 CPU fans. So you literally just slide it right in. And now your CPU fan will have power. See that? Cool. So next, Next up, we want to put in some RAM. Now, the RAM is interesting because there's something called dual channel RAM, right? So if you look, there's DDR4A1, A2, and DDR4B1, B2. So what we want to do, you could see, hopefully it's dark, but right here, it says DDR A1, A2, B1, B2. So to do dual channel, which is what you want to get the most performance, so this is our RAM, right? These are the Patriot 8 gigabyte 2x4, so you don't need to go crazy. 3200 megahertz. And that should be enough for some reliable mining. So we'll literally spot these. Into alternating slots so that we can get the dual channel effect. If we put them just right next to each other, they're not going to go dual channel, and we won't have all the performance that we can potentially get. Okay, so I'm going to remove this because we're going to power this up pretty soon. So then that's all done. I mean, bam, we're good. This is pretty much the miner. Now we need to give it some power. I mean, how much time was that? That was like, 20 minutes. 20 minutes to get all the main stuff plugged in. And now we just got to set up the operating system. So I got 450 watts. In the tutorial it shows it's the same brand, but the tutorial says 500 watts. Pretty much anything 300 and up will be sufficient. Pretty much anything 300 and up will work. We have a little power cable. And this stuff doesn't have to get fancy. I mean, it's up to you. If you're gonna have a whole bunch of rigs set up, you wanna, like I have wooden rails at my spot, and it's not expensive, it's effective, lets a good airflow be underneath. So it's reliable. Practicality goes a long way in mining. But if you do want to make it fancy, that's on you. And keep in mind, while this stuff does make money, it also supports the network. And that's why it's you should be mining no matter what. If you can, you should be mining. Okay, back to the point. Back to the how-to. So you got this motherboard one. It says MB on it. And that has a 20 plus 4 pin connector. And then we need the CPU power, which is right here. It literally says CPU. So there's two connectors that we need. One says CPU on it and one says MB. It's a 24 pin and there's a 6 pin. But it's an 8 pin. A 24 pin and an 8 pin. There's other 8 pins, but these are for graphics cards. So we don't want these. Usually the CPU will come independent, and then these graphic cards have 2. So so I'm gonna go ahead and plug the CPU one in first, and that goes if you're using this motherboard, and usually most motherboards, it's on the top left of the CPU. All right, and then we plug in our motherboard power, which is a 24 pin. You want to make sure it's flush and it clicked in. So that's it. We are now powered up. So let me get these out of the way. Don't need this anymore. You want to save your manual somewhere for the future. Maybe you'll turn this into a normal computer. Okay, so now that we've got this done, we need to plug two things. Let's get this out of the way. Okay, so we need to plug in two things. Power to the motherboard, power to the computer at all, right? And then we also need a internet connection. So I got my Ethernet cable right here, and I'm literally going to plug this in to the internet. Okay, yes, there's also the other element. We need our USB drive. So this step, so I'm plugging in the USB drive too. We're gonna need a separate computer because we don't need to actually access this computer at all. Because on this USB drive, we're going to install the SFXOS. So to install the SFXOS, we need to open up a program called Balena Etcher. And Balena Etcher is a program that allows us to overwrite and burn an image into a USB drive. So I'm getting that open right now on my computer here. So Balena Etcher is a program that looks like this. So you can see right here. And you can download it. The link to download that program is in the tutorial. So then what we do, in addition to Balena Etcher, we need the SFXOS downloaded as well, which is also in the tutorial. So I'm on safex.org/blog. And inside that blog post is the link to is the actual file download. So I'll show my screen as I progress through the through the procedure, right? So you can see it's pretty high up in the tutorial. It's in step A, obtaining the components, and then there's a link here to download. There's a link right there to download. So I'm downloading that. It'll take a couple minutes. It's a pretty big file, but I'm pretty sure I already have it. So I'm going to cancel that and just go ahead and so you choose Flash from File. You go to SFXOS, and that's an IMG file. So you choose your USB drive, right? So you can see exactly what's going on here. So I chose SFXOS 2.0, the USB that I plugged in, and then I hit Flash. You gotta put a password. In my case, and probably you might have to as well. And now it's in motion. And when it's done, it'll let us know. And that should take about a minute. But what this is going to let us do is plug in the USB into the computer, and then we don't need to do any further configurations other than setting our address. Like it'll create a service that lets us control this machine. So how did that happen? You know, I had 80 computers that I wanted to mine with a little more than a year ago, and a couple people from our team. I said, hey, listen, there's no way I'm gonna go and install. I'm gonna plug in a monitor to 80 computers and configure it manually, I said there has to be a better way. And we came up with this idea, SFXOS. And basically what it does is it allows us to, from one monitor, control any number of miners that will be mining SafeX Cash. So yeah, pretty nice tool, easy to scale, and so far so good, working for pretty much everybody who's tried it out. So this will take like another 10 seconds, and then we'll plug it in, and I'll show you the configuration. So it's done, it's validating, another 20 seconds, and then we should be off to the races. How many people in the room are actually already using SFXOS? Just curious. All right, that's done. Now I could plug it in. Now I could plug the USB drive into the computer, so you can see I'm plugged into the Ethernet. I got my USB drive plugged in, and now I'm ready to power it up. So you might be wondering, how am I going to power this up without a case, without a power button? So there's actually a configuration area right here. Just bring this in closer. So when you plug in the motherboard, right here, there are these, it says P-LED power button, minus and plus, right? So you see these pins. You see these pins? So the two right here are the LED light, and the two pins right here are the power button. So if I combine these, let me just check that. See, I have it out of use, actually. You can see I have to pop this into in use. See that? Okay, so it's in use. So now let's try this again. So I'm gonna combine these pins with and you can see it's turning on. You see the power supply is on, and shortly the CPU fan will turn on. Wait a second. Should go on. Power supply is on. Come on, you can do it. Did we plug it in all the way? Well, power supply is plugged in, and it's on, and you can see it's spinning. But the CPU, let's try this again. So I just hit the off button on the power supply, and I just hit the power supply back on, and then I'm gonna combine the two again. Live demos. I'm gonna just try changing the CPU fan port. Maybe that'll make a difference. And I'll restart this again. So we have power, but we don't have power. We have power to the power supply, but for some reason the whole thing isn't going on. No. Did I get this CPU all the way in? All right, that's in all the way. Should be working. The motherboard power is in all the way. It should also be fine. And then turn it back on. What's going on? Everything seems to be in the right place. Well, that's completely unexpected. Not sure why it's not powering up right away. What do you think we should do? Make sure RAM is in 2 and 4. Maybe BIOS, flashing BIOS shouldn't be necessary. I was thinking I can just get a graphics card real quick and throw in a monitor and see if we could even get it to turn on. But the CPU doesn't turn on, so it's a little confusing. Let's see. So I got here that. Boom. This is why we do a live workshop, right? So if it didn't work for you right away, here's like steps you can do to try to troubleshoot it. All right. So we got our graphics card in. Power up. Let's see. The graphics card fan is spinning. So we have something there. Now the heatsink is Yeah, there's no heatsink is not warm. So right now it's like in a reset mode. I just saw the fan turn off and then turn back on. Um, hmm, maybe it's the motherboard. I wouldn't rule it out. So yeah, I'm also not seeing anything from the graphics card. So I'm gonna. It does get power, but nothing comes up. Could reset BIOS by removing this. Not exactly flashing, but if you remove this battery, then there's like it'll restart the program for that governs the motherboard. I have another motherboard in X570. And we could give that one a shot. And this motherboard is like a bit more expensive, but it is far superior to this B540. So I don't mind giving this a shot too. All right. Let's just put this battery back and see if we get any lift off here. Oh yeah. Do we need to give this power? No, this thing didn't need power. So we did everything right. Let's try it one more time. Okay, now it's working. For real. I'm not joking. Yeah, you see the CPU fan went on? So probably it felt threatened by the I'm gonna turn this off and actually plug in a motherboard just to be sure, like plug in a graphics card just to be sure what's going on over there. Okay, let's see. Okay, everything's going. So now it's just like in a reset loop. I'm gonna remove the USB drive and see if that's demanding anything from it. And after this, if it's not working, I'm gonna switch to the more modern motherboard. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and just switch the motherboards. I think it's this 5800X, this new CPU. We're supposed to do this with the 3900X, but it didn't show up from my order. So like I just compromised and just tried something more modern. So this shouldn't take too long. But the irony is that once we put the unplug the battery and reset it, the CPU fan started to work. So that was pretty ironic. Hey, if you're online there, check if this B450 needs different needs some flashing if you're using this CPU. That'd be some nice information to have. Because if that's true, then we'll definitely need to add that to the tutorial right now. So anyone in the future, if they attempted this build with the new CPU, then they would know. So I'm just salvaging these mounting brackets. All right, and then, so just to be super safe, not to break any pins, yeah, here, let's do it on the box. Just in case, like some static or whatever. I don't think that was the issue with the last one. So you can still see this. Let me prop this up. All right, cool. All right, so I'm taking the CPU out of the last build. Carefully. And inserting it into our new build. Be careful because you get, be careful not to get, if you ever have to do this, don't get the thermal paste on the pins. That's why, like, you don't need more paste than this. Look how spread it became all over the, I'm just gonna wipe my hands real quick. Yeah, that's the second. All right, just to get my hands clear. So we also need to get these mounting brackets off, like last time. And again, if you're using the 3900X, you're fine. You know, these mounting brackets that come with that cooler, they're the same ones. So, but same deal as before. So this actually won't take as long the second time. I'm just gonna kind of steamroll through it. So we got these gray risers. And imagine if you were putting together a dozen of these, how quickly you would, how efficient you'd become at this. And even if you're not, I think it's an awesome skill to have. And I think this is a really profitable way to experience building a computer. And that's ironic because I used a bunch of 450s and I didn't need to update for the Ryzen 9. But I think, you know, I have a bunch of Ryzen 9s and I never needed to update the BIOS on those. But this CPU, what we're using right now, is far newer. It's super new. So I think that 450, which is about $100 cheaper, it doesn't have what it takes to run this brand new CPU. So I think we're going to be successful with this one. I think that with this motherboard, we're going to be successful with this CPU, and we'll just need to update the tutorial for all this new modern stuff before, you know, pretty soon I bet they're going to be discontinuing. You know, they're definitely going to discontinue the Ryzen 9, and they're phasing it out for this new one. And this new one is about the same price. It just doesn't come with a cooler, and it has, you know, it's just as powerful, and it's about the same price, just as powerful. So I'm just screwing this back in. Everything is the same gig as before. And actually, this motherboard is far superior. It's obviously it's more expensive, but it also has much better temperature management. So the likelihood of it, you know, in the long term getting fried is much lower. It has a little cooling fan here for the chipset. So it's much better. So you see that was kind of painless, you know, now that we don't have to open up boxes, you can see. So then the fan directions are right there. And then we're gonna plug this into CPU fans. So they're up here, CPU fan slot. We're gonna go dual channel on our RAM sticks once again. So we're gonna alternate our position. Okay, so same gig as before. Now we need to give our motherboard power. So it says motherboard MB, 24 pin, power connector. Got it, our CPU connector. It's usually always on the top left. Okay, so that's done there. Now this one's a little different. The power button is over here in the 4.8. It's over here on the left side of these pins, and you can see P LED, PW. So I'm guessing that that's the power button, and we just need to connect those. Those pins, and this thing will power up. So let's connect it to Ethernet. Let's connect it to Ethernet as if this is going to work. So fingers crossed that this one's actually going to give us liftoff. We got our USB drive. So I'm just plugging in to USB. And then I'm connecting these pins. Let's just give power to our power supply. All right, everything's spinning right away. Let's see. So yeah. So we actually have the LEDs flashing on the Ethernet. So that means like we're booted up and we're rolling. So what I'm gonna do now, so what we need to do now is find this computer on the network. So to do that, there is this thing called Angry IP Scanner. Whatever the reason for the name, doesn't matter. But basically it lets us scan our network for all the computers on the network. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, hit start, and then it's gonna show us all the computers that are online. So I ran my scan, it found 9 computers online, and you could actually find your computer based on its MAC address. So there's a little serial number somewhere. So I know on the I know that there's a serial number here on the B450. I'm not sure exactly where it is on the 570X, but it's somewhere. But otherwise, I would look for, let me just make sure that this is it, 192.168. Yeah, so actually I found it, it's working. Okay, so you run Angry Scanner, and then you just hit start, and it's gonna scan all the computers that are on your network. And what you'll look for is you'll actually look for one of the items, and it'll say ports open 80,443. So 80, 443. You might have a bunch of others, like your printer might have something like that. Your admin panel to your Wi-Fi might have something like that. So you want to check pretty much every single IP address until you found a screen that looked like this. Until you find a screen that kind of looks like this. So you could log in. All right, whatever. So you could log in, and the password is SFXRig. But I mean, bottom line, this is working. So let me just maximize this. So basically, you'll end up with a screen. You'll end up with a screen that literally looks like this. You see that? And right now, the rig is mining to this M2L. So that's kind of like a default address. And what we want to do is switch that address to our own address. So like if I worker statistics, so anyone who didn't update that, they'll end up mining, and there's just one rig mining there. So the point is that we could take, for example, I'm going to take from the TWM wallet, I'm going to take the address, switch it out. You see? I'm going to switch it out. So before it said like MWL, so now it says Y2E ending, and I'm going to hit submit. I'm going to hit submit. And now you can look up. When I look it up, so it's still not found. We just updated it. And this is also where you could change the name of the rig. I'll also give it a name. Call it SFX Workshop. Submit. And now you could see that that rig is coming up on, you can see that rig come up on the pool. So on the pool, if you go to pool.safex.org/#workerstats, you can see, you could plug in your address, and then you could hit lookup, and you'll see that it's mining. So there we go. I mean, so if you had the 450 with the Ryzen 9, it should have worked originally, but because I used this 5800X, which is like very, very new. This B450 is like 2 years old. The Ryzen 9 is also 2 years old. It's still a great CPU. I'm using those quite prevalently, but these are brand new, and these will mine at about the same hash rate as the 3900X. So yeah, you could see like the previous one went out, and I renamed it to SFX Workshop, and yeah, it's kind of got a glare. Yeah, you could see it's got the SFX Workshop, and then the other one will go offline in some seconds, and let's just give it a few minutes to catch up and ramp up with a hash rate. Yeah, so we're up to 1,000 hash per second. We're up to 1,000 hash per second. We should give it like 10 minutes max, a few minutes to kind of get some averaging in there. Yeah, so there you go, folks. This is like, if you saw, I put together this second rig in like 15 minutes flat. It doesn't take that much time. This whole setup would be a bit more expensive, like $850 or something like that. I got this at Best Buy for $30, actually, pretty awesome. Normally they're like $50, so there's always a deal out there. This cooler, this is the Noctua U9S. So pretty not difficult to install. It looks intimidating at first, but once you did it once, once you got your hands on it, it's not that difficult. And you saw how we just unboxed this and set it up. So we definitely need to update the tutorial. If we had the Ryzen 9, the other motherboard would have worked the same way, right out of the box. But circumstances are circumstances. That package was delayed. They didn't bring it today either, so we'll see it on Monday. But either way, we got this thing online and working without a single monitor connected at all. So cheers. Yeah, it worked right away on the new motherboard. It worked immediately. Just that this other motherboard, the B450, is a little bit outdated. Outdated for the CPU that we're using, that I pivoted to use. So we're gonna update the tutorial. And again, like I'm using the tutorial version, I'm using times 80 and it's working flawlessly for a year and a bit now. It'll be 2 years in like March or April. So definitely there's nothing wrong with the tutorial version. I pivoted into this 5800X, just circumstances. So, but there's still no reason why this 3900X, because this B450 was in the same generation as the 3900X. But right here I'm using the X570. Yeah, it's called the X570. So the box to that, here, I got another one. This one's a really strong motherboard too. So if you got an extra $100, go with this. If you, this will cost you about an extra $60 because it doesn't come with a cooler. But this is probably going to hash the same amount as the 4900X, and we're just watching the average increase right here. So for sure, they still have the 3900X and stuff like that. The 3900X still, yeah, just leave it alone. In this condition that it's at, you can put it in the corner of your room. You can put it pretty much out of sight, and you can just check on your pool.safex.org, and you can see that it's working. So we're up to like 3.2 kilohash. I think this one will actually do just slightly less than the 3900X. So 3900X is still far superior, but this will still generate a decent amount of hashing power for its price. Hey, Gary Brown. So XM rig on your laptop is the way to go. SFX rig is, so in the start of the tutorial, I was giving I mentioned why we made SFXOS. So I have a 80 computer farm, 80 CPUs mining SafeX Cash, and what I said was that, and what happened is there's no way I'm going to plug in a monitor to 80 different computers and configure them manually. So what we did was we created SFXOS. So just from my one laptop, I could have had 20 or 100 or 1,000 computers connected to the network. I could just flash and install the USB drives, and like that, we would be able to bring online a lot of CPUs all at once, rather than spend however many days, like a whole week or plus, getting things online. So the 5800 has 8 cores, but it has a ton of caching, 36 megabytes of cache. So it's a really good CPU, this one. But the 3900X has 12 cores. So it has a whole 50% more cores than this one. So kind of makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, for your laptop, use the XM rig. If you have a dedicated hardware, use SFXOS. All of those things are covered in the blog. So you go SafeX or SafeX Cash mining. That's, yeah. So yeah, we're definitely going to sell mining hardware in some moment. Right now, if you were paying attention on the Twitter, if you saw on the Twitter and you're from the U.S. and you bought one of these medallions, you would see exactly why we're going to be able to source pretty much every single item on the planet Earth to be sold on SafeX for crypto. So. Hash rate is at 5.3K. So literally, I'll just put the link directly. You can see, look up worker stats. And I'm already up. I've already earned, in the whole time I'm standing here, I've earned 1.6 SFX. Like, why you wouldn't be mining, supporting the network. It's designed for us to be doing it. So now it's, yeah, Black Friday deals coming. We'll probably have Black Friday deals forever on SafeX. We have lower fees. Yeah, Gary Brown, thank you so much for the support. I hope it was a pleasure to use the platform. Yeah, look forward to some other cool things on the, clothing, other jewelries. We have so much in store. We have so much in store. We're just working on what we're about to. People are gonna enjoy shopping every day in a new way, like never before. Yeah, we're up. We've earned. So our hash rate is now at. You can see the hash rate is at 8.4 kilohash, and we've already earned 2.5 SFX. So pretty wild. I mean, go, yeah, go mining. What to say? I guess like once you do this, you kind of are immersed in this. Like it's fun and exciting. So there's also this settings. You could set your payout level. So if you're doing quite a bit of mining, you could change it to, instead of 15, which is the default, to like 100 or 1,000. I think 1,000 is the max. And if you need to get your IP address, you just go, to a website. What is my IP address.com? And it should show you your IP address. And you'll pop that in. And then I'm going to change my payout to 100. And you can see it's done. See green confirmation. Yeah. Don't forget. So we still have if you go to SafeX Ninja, pretty cool website built by a community member, you can see all the kind of small trinkets that are still available. You check there, you can see my Rolex is still for sale there. We still have a skateboard left, 4 or 5. So literally we've sold like 8 skateboards. Not sure about why wouldn't someone have gotten this one already? I don't know, but look out for the next couple of weeks where we're gonna roll out a new version of the wallet and a whole new system that's going to allow you to literally buy all the stuff that you buy normally, except with crypto now. With coins you can mine, with coins that are like on the ground floor. And this is like a fully decentralized system. Why are we mining? Because that's the way we secure the network. That's the way we introduce currency to the people. So it's like, this is the way Bitcoin started. This is literally how Bitcoin started, except you couldn't mine it because you didn't hear about Bitcoin unless you were a total computer nerd. Here I proved how easily in just it took 20 minutes to build the first one. It took 15 minutes to build the second one. So I don't know, this is fun. If you never built a computer before, this is how simple it is. Of course, you could throw in a case, you could plug it in, but you don't have to. So yeah. And on the international market, there's still 2 medallions left. Obviously, we'll replenish some stock because there's 150 numbered ones, but whoever got them now, they got to experience everything first and kind of, thank you so much for helping us prove, and your t-shirts are coming out if you covered it. So yeah, let me know if you have any more questions. Otherwise, I hope that this was helpful and inspiring to you. And if you're watching this in the future, you can see, never give up. There's always some option. And, this is actually super easy to get involved in and to start mining. You could impress your friends. You could support the network and earn some coins all while doing that. You gotta realize, like, if you need a computer, this is like a good way to kind of finance yourself a computer. Imagine you could buy this for like $800. You could work with it in the day, mine with it at night, sell your coins if you needed to, and pay off your rig on a regular basis. I mean, who doesn't need a computer in this day and age, and especially a super powerful one like this? And this is a super powerful computer. There's so much you could do. You could upgrade the RAM for like another $100, and you'd be able to use this. Like you could play games if you wanted. You could add a graphics card to this setup. Got a little graphics card here for like $150, and you have a normal computer. You throw a case, and then you can mine at night, like I said, or when you don't use it. And then you could put a hard drive onto this computer and then pop the USB drive when you want to mine with it. So you could restart the computer, boot from your USB drive, and I'm pointing to the USB drive right here. And then you can be mining when you want to be mining, and you could use it as a normal computer when you want to use it as a normal computer. So, it's first, and this is like different than Bitcoin. You invest thousands into Bitcoin, or and then you can't use that machine. You spend thousands of dollars on a machine that can only be used for mining Bitcoin. And then there's massive competition. You want to sell that, it's deteriorating really quickly. These things, this is how Satoshi wanted: one CPU, one vote, and that's what we're doing right now. We just set up a vote on the network for supporting the SafeX chain. So cool. Thank you guys for joining me this evening. Gonna sign off for now. Hope this was informative, and catch you later. Catch you through next week, and have a great evening. Bye.